This is Press Steam to Start. I'm Gardiner, and this is Jackson. How's it going, Jackson?
Pretty good. How's it go for you?
It's going pretty great. If you missed it, this is a podcast about gaming, not just gaming on Linux, but like the Steam Deck and other games. We're talking about some cool stuff today. We have some news. Atari bought Night Dive Studio. We're going to be talking about how Nintendo has actually started contributing to open source software, which is pretty exciting. Then we're going to touch on The Last of Us Part 1's disastrous launch, and
oh boy,
and we will get to E3 has been officially canceled. We're going to talk about all of this and more today in this episode, so stick with us. We're going to have some fun.
Let's just do a check-in. Gardner, what have you been playing or watching?
I've been playing Dead Cells this week.
Nice.
A lot more than I've put several hours into Dead Cells. But just for some reason this last week, I was like really into it. Yeah.
Did you pick up the Castlevania DLC?
No, I have not. I don't think I have any DLC for it. I just have the base game.
I've heard a lot of good things about the Castlevania DLC so far. I have not picked it up personally, but I fell in love with Dead Cells when I played it back on the Switch, and that was definitely one that I had to pick up on Steam as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be playing a different game. I've been I think since I got my Steam Deck, I've put like 60 hours into Spelunky, and so
yeah,
I'm ready to be playing something else. And a lot of
my partner.
Sorry, go ahead.
My partner made a joke of like, "Oh, what are you going to talk about? What game you played this time?" And I said, "Well, I've been playing Vampire Survivors again, so I guess I'll just mention that every week." So that's I definitely feel you on the Spelunky thing.
Yeah, this is good having this check-in because it's going to force me to play different games. But I will always mention Spelunky because it's one of the few games that consistently holds my attention.
We'll just have a silent, like, assumed favorite game that we're constantly playing. Vampire Survivors for me, and then Spelunky for you.
Yeah, nice. What have you been playing?
Yeah. Well, so I have actually picked up Sifu, which launched on March 28th, the same day as The Last of Us. Very ballsy. Might I say it was an Epic exclusive, so it was on the Epic Store for, I guess, about a year or so prior, but it finally hit Steam, which is the point where I picked it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from the team that brought you Absolver, which is like a Souls-like martial arts game. And this one is like that, except single player. And boy, it is hard at times. It's, it definitely is easy to learn because it's Arkham style kind of combat, hard to master of we're not going to hold any punches back and we're going to kill you a bunch of times.
Yeah.
One of the interesting mechanics is that every time you die, you are presented with the chance to spend some of your experience points you've gained through the level to buy new temporary abilities, but then you can come back a certain amount of times. Every time you come back, you age a year. And that counter of how much you age by is indicative of how many times you've died. So when I first started out, I died. I aged from age 20 to 21, but as I went through the level and kept having a little bit of issues, by the end of it, I was like 60 or 70 because it stacks. You die 5 times and you're going to age up 5 years. So the first time I played through the first level, I failed it. Second time I actually beat it. Third time I went back to finish the level at a better age because you then go on to the next level at whatever age you finish at. So the older you are, the less of an advantage you have because you're going to die sooner. But then it introduces kind of a funny concept of like at the end of the boss, or when I fought the boss and my character had a dialogue, he's like, I've been waiting 8 years to do this. It's really funny when you're 60 years old and you say that, and 8 years ago you were just a little kid. So it's like, is this a Benjamin Button situation or something? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
But it's really good. It's not verified on deck. I did run into stutters when loading new areas. That's not huge. It did crash on me twice, once on the Steam Deck and then once on my PC, which is running Nabarro Linux with a 6700 XT. So I do think it's a great game. I can't fully recommend it quite yet because I don't know why it's crashing. So I think it's buyer beware. Yeah. And if you like difficult games, go for it. Otherwise, just keep an eye on it or maybe pick it up during a sale. Other than that, I checked out the D&D movie, which was pretty good. Pretty fun romp, which did not take any low-hanging fruit like the bard rolls to seduce or something like that. It has a lot of nice, logical D&D Easter eggs and jokes in there, but it's not in your face. It's just a good movie first and then a good D&D movie.
Okay.
It doesn't like blow the doors off best movie of the year or anything. It's definitely like kind of in that post-Marvel era movie. But hey, if you want to see a movie that's kind of funny and fancy, go check out Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves.
Nice. I did. You know how disconnected from pop culture I am? I didn't even know that there was a D&D movie.
Really?
Yeah, I had no idea. And when you wrote that post on ViewSync about Sifu, I was like, "What is Sifu?" I had no idea.
Yeah, you added that in the comments of my article when I'm drafting it. I was like, "Oh, how do I explain this right away?" Because I think you were like, "Oh, you've made a mistake. This doesn't exist."
Well, I saw Sifu and I thought that was like because you had done like The Last of Us TOULU. So I was thinking Sifu was like an abbreviation or something.
Yeah. No. Good game. Good game.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like a game that a lot of people would like. That's probably not my cup of tea. I'm not the biggest. I always pick the easiest difficulty to play when I'm playing a game because I suck at video games. I'm so bad at them.
I will say that they added a difficulty selection. So there is an easier mode if that's something you want to go for. I can't say how easy it is. So again, buyer beware of that. But you know,
nice.
All right. Does that take us into Deck Verified this week?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's start out. Not as big a list as last week, but we still got a decent list. First, we're starting with Dungeons of Aether, a turn-based dungeon crawler set in the Rivals of Aether universe, the popular Smash, I don't want to say Smash clone, but Smash type indie game on Steam.
Yep.
Then you have The Legend of Heroes, Trails to Azure. Azure? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. The latest in the Legend of Heroes RPG franchise. The special support section is back with more members and more cases to solve. Super Indie Kart, which is an early access classic retro 16 to 64-bit styled kart racing game. One that I'm pretty excited for is Dredge, a Lovecraftian single-player fishing adventure with a sinister undercurrent.
Yeah.
It's got a neat art style. It's just up my alley.
Yeah.
The last one is a little bit interesting because the developer tweeted out that this game is deck verified. However, I have not found official confirmation via Steam. So I want to mention it, but I can't promise that this is the current state. Flannel Bear Games tweeted out on March 28th that they did get Steam Deck compatibility for their game Genda Cakes. I think Genda Cake, which is a Metroidvania Souls-like about dungeons and cakes. Nice. Again, so far I have not seen any other confirmation other than just coming directly from the developer.
Right. I want to shout out my friend Frank, who keeps like singing the praises of Dredge, and I still haven't had a chance to try it yet. I've just been super busy. But Frank, I will try the game, especially now that it's deck verified.
He was
Frank was telling me about that. He showed me the trailer for that like 2 months ago, and he's like, "This is gonna be awesome," and I'm like, yeah, it looks cool, but I sorry, Frank.
It's just anything foreboding like that. It's like, okay, well, this hits a special place in my soul for dark and disturbing.
Yeah.
So
So this podcast here on the channel, you're probably watching it right now if you're seeing this. It's also available as an audio version. So if you're more into audio podcasts, you know, if you have a podcast app on your phone, you can head over to viewsync.com if you're a ViewSync Premium member, that is. ViewSync Premium members, patrons, and YouTube members get access to the audio podcast. ViewSync Premium is now on sale still for 20% off. Use the link in the description and you'll save 20% on your first 3 months on ViewSync Premium. It's pretty exciting stuff. You get the warm fuzzies of supporting independent media, and you also get access to exclusive posts like these. Thanks for your consideration, and back to the show.
All right, so that was kind of a brief overview of our first half of the show, because we've got a pretty stacked second half of news.
Yeah, we do.
So where do we start first? There's just so much.
Well, let's start with some sad news. Night Dive Studio was acquired by Atari.
Ooh.
This is tragic to me. I don't like it when acquisitions happen. They kill the character of whatever company was acquired, and one of my favorite studios of recent like prominence is Night Dive. Night Dive has done some of my favorite games recently. They did Doom 64. They've done a bunch of others, the Turok games, Descent.
I believe they did the Blade Runner recent release on GOG as well.
Yes, they did. That's right.
Yeah, they are well known for their classic revivals of bringing old games to modern consoles and systems using their Kex engine, which has a bunch of tools of just pulling assets and putting them into modern stuff. So yeah, Atari bought them up. This is the second acquisition this month where they are focused on retro IPs and studios that can bring retro IPs to the modern age. The last one was a dozen retro arcade properties, the likes of Berserk and Frenzy. So it's interesting to see, because I remember seeing, one, Atari has a very storied past of video games, obviously, but two, I remember seeing they filed for bankruptcy a while ago. I want to say 2013 or something. So whoever owns Atari, the name Atari, I don't know what that looks like. So it's not what we know from the past.
Yeah.
I will say, though, it seems like recently they have a strong focus on bringing back their retro catalog, like the Atari 50, which has been pretty well received.
Yeah.
So yes, it's kind of sad to see a really awesome indie dev get swallowed up by another publisher. I think this could open the doors to some really good classics coming back for Atari.
Yeah.
You know, and we know Night Dive is a talented studio, so I'm hopeful on that front. Which is a better venture than their other ones, which is I have written here Web3 bullshit and Atari themed hotels.
Yeah.
So
wait, what is their Web3 bullshit? Atari X?
I think I want to say it's some kind of NFTs or something. Yeah, Atari and Web3.
Dude, this Web3 stuff should be criminalized. It's horrible.
Oh, jeez.
Ugh. Yeah, wow.
I don't even think it says anything on the website. It just talks about Web3. Yeah. We're doing a Web3.
Yeah.
Blockchain. Like that's... Oh, here we go.
Have you seen...
A token?
It's a token?
I don't know. They just say token at the end, but I don't see any... Again, some of these are like dirty words, like NFT, crypto. All of this has become dirty words because we've now seen like, oh, it's a racket. Like all of this is a racket. You're buying a receipt.
Did you watch? Did you watch Adam Conover's latest video about AI?
Yes, I did. That was very good.
It's very good, and he put like things into perspective for me a little bit more, because you know I've had this sense of like, you know, tech bro scam culture and whatever, but I never like put it all together the way Adam Conover did. And it's like
Right.
it's like NFTs and like the GPT style of AI, quote unquote.
Mhm.
It's all the same thing. It's just tech bros just looking to scam people over again in a
They're trying to
innovative
build
way.
up hype to make some kind of product that they can profit over, even if it's not actually a viable product.
Right, exactly.
As Adam Conover mentioned, the Tesla self-driving feature, which just isn't a thing, but it was hyped so much by Elon to sell and raise the stock value.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, like
year.
I have fallen somewhat for a little bit of the hype at times too. Like GPT came out, I experimented with it. I was like, wow, this is really incredible. I haven't seen something like this. But as I started using it more, I started catching a lot of the errors. I'm like, oh, this is just blatantly wrong. Like some of this stuff just doesn't make any sense. I will say I do use Chat GPT and the Bing AI sometimes to help me come up with article titles.
Yeah.
You know, and even then it's all right. How does this sound? Does it make sense? What do I need to massage?
Read this
It's
article.
just really kind of...
Yeah, it's like I do the same thing. I think I gave you the idea to do that because I take my scripts and I'll put it into ChatGPT and I'll be like, give me like a good clickable title, not a clickbait title, because people say that a lot of my video titles are clickbait, but GPT actually comes out with some pretty good answers for titles for your articles, and it's like that's what GPT is good for. It's not good for many other things, most other things. That, like, it's not good for search results, and this kind of like Atari doing Web3 stuff reads to me of like the venture capital firm that owns Atari decided that they want to get into the Web3 business. They want to make their own Atari token.
There's certainly like that aspect of Atari, but then there's like, it's almost two heads. That's the Web3 bullshit head of Atari. And then there's the, hey, we're going to bring back and capitalize on our retro IPs by just making some good games. Like, I hope that's the side that we see more of. And then the other head kind of refocuses and says, oh, okay. Like, you know what? Drop Web3. If you want to keep doing themed hotels, fuck it, why not? That's kind of like the era we live in with the Super Mario World theme park and stuff.
Yeah, so. You know what? Like I've been in the world of like I've been in the corporate world, and it's literally like, you have people that work at the company that are really passionate about what the company does, and then you have the VC firm that is like, well, we own you, so you better do this, right? And so, this reeks of like investment meddling and just awful crap.
Yeah. The last note I have on our doc is Microsoft probably won't buy Atari. I mean, maybe. Jeez.
Microsoft. Yeah, that would be. Oh man, I would be so sad if Microsoft bought Atari after they acquired Night Dive. I don't really care about Atari that much, except for I think Atari owns the IP for Roller Coaster Tycoon. I could be wrong about that, but I think they do, and that's like one of my favorite franchises ever. So,
hey, Dragon Ball games are no longer being published by Atari, so I got that win for me.
Nice.
All right, so that can bring us to we can quickly talk about Counter-Strike 2 announcement, because that was a big start to the week.
Yes, it was. So Counter-Strike 2, I made a video about it. It seems pretty awesome. But the notes here say it's sad to see that this will be the final game in the Counter-Strike series. Is that a joke? Because there's no Counter-Strike 3. Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, they can't count to 3. I'm a joke man. This is what I do. Even in my notes. But yeah, no, they really showed off the volumetric smoke, which seems like it's going to be I don't think there's any other games that have handled smoke in that way, at least into a tactical level. I don't know if like the Battlefield games did anything on that level, but it seems like it's going to change the meta of Counter-Strike quite a bit.
Yeah.
Not that I'm big on Counter-Strike. I'm more of an arena shooter Halo kind of guy.
Yeah.
But Source 2 looks fantastic. You mentioned in your video that maybe we're going to get some stronger Source 2 development tools, and what's that going to look like for Alex in terms of modding. That's had a really good modding scene.
Oh man.
So and I will say, like, and again, as you pointed out, the reflections and stuff, the graphics looked really good for something that wasn't ray traced at all.
That's Source 2. Like Source 2's lighting system is just phenomenal. Like it has I mean, playing through Half-Life Alex was like kind of a game-changing moment for me. It was a profound experience, honestly. Like I couldn't believe how good the game looked, and then looking at the trailer for Counter-Strike 2, I was like, this you can tell that they're part of the same family. And the interesting thing about Source 2 as well is that it doesn't seem to have that same like uneasiness to the engine that like Source 1 had. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Like, just everything in Source 1 feels a little uncanny, a little uneasy, a little unsettling. And it's not just the games that, like, the atmosphere of the game. It's like even something like Counter-Strike Global Offensive has just this kind of like empty, weird, lifeless quality to it.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting to see. I want to see more games in Source 2, and I want to see Source 2 on deck. Like, I gotta imagine they're optimizing this engine for the deck, especially when we're seeing what Unreal 5 games somewhat have a little bit of issue on the Steam Deck. I think at least, but it's also early stages for that engine as well. Sorry, my cat is currently on my lap. There you go. Get out here, Mina. No. So what I also am wondering, which probably is not going to be the case, but with Counter-Strike 2, is there going to be some type of initiative to make the Steam Deck almost like an esports machine of quickly set up, launch Counter-Strike at whatever settings, whatever frame rate? Though I know you want to have frames in like the 500s for Counter-Strike, so that might not be the case.
Well, I think the thing about the beyond tick rate that they were talking about is going to mitigate the need for like extremely high frame rates. Because I don't know, I just don't see Source 2 right now being optimized enough to land in the 500s or even in the 200s on most machines.
Right.
Source 2 is like way more taxing on the system. So
yeah, because when was the first Source engine released?
The first Source engine was released with Half-Life 2.
Half-Life 2?
Which was frickin' 2002 or something like that.
2002, that seems so... Man, and I'm just thinking of Deus Ex, and like the graphics for that compared to Half-Life 2. Like, man, what a game. When that came out, that was just mind-blowing.
Half-Life 2 was 2004.
2004. Okay,
so
that makes a little
almost
bit more sense.
20 years of the original Source engine.
And it still doesn't look too bad.
No.
Like, man. This is also sent, because this is going to be an upgrade for Counter-Strike Go. This has sent the skin market for Counter-Strike through the roof, like nutso, apparently. So that's a whole crazy scene. I think People Make Games did a really good video about Valve and skin gambling and things. Like, definitely check that out. You know, that's a concern that I have of Valve not addressing that end. And it's definitely going to continue on into Counter-Strike 2. But again, we are excited to see Counter-Strike 2. Excited to see Source Engine 2.
Yeah. The thing about Source, about like Source gambling and stuff, is it's like, you know, it was like a prototype for Web3. But it's like, who needs NFTs? You know what I'm saying? Like, besides, you know, Valve is like, we have like this centralized database of like all the stuff you own, and so the stuff that you own is going to go into the next game. You know, like the skins for Counter-Strike Global Offensive roll into Counter-Strike 2,
which is which was exactly the selling point of NFTs in games. It's like, hey, you're going to buy this. It's going to be in some kind of like wallet for you. You're going to own it and you can bring that into any other game. Whereas like my immediate reaction was, okay, so every game is going to have every asset from every game ever. Like, how does that, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Right. Like it makes no sense.
But like people, like crypto bros will say, well, you know, it's decentralized. And it's like, there's no guarantee that like Facebook's NFTs are actually decentralized. Like,
right.
Do you really trust Facebook to do that? No.
Jeez. It's Meta actually.
Oh, right. Meta.
How's that going? How's that going for you, Zuck?
Yeah.
Oh man. So, you want to walk us through the next headline?
Yeah, so apparently Nintendo has created a Vulkan extension along with several other hardware vendors. Nintendo has been working on this thing called VK-EXT shader object, and this actually creates a new type of shader that is separate from the primary like pipeline, so it's as performant. Now, I'm not going to go into too many technical details, but basically Nintendo has contributed to Vulkan, which is huge because I'm pretty sure Nintendo has their own graphics language for the Switch. So this is interesting to see that they're actually supporting Vulkan, like, and actually contributing to it. The Nintendo and engineers from Nvidia, AMD, Lunar G, Google, Valve, Roblox, and Activision, as well as various other organizations, contributed to this. So this is pretty interesting stuff. And Mike Blumenkrantz from Valve said it's very cool. It's a very cool extension for Zinc. Effectively, it means unoptimized shader variants can be generated very fast. So fast that the extension should solve all the remaining issues with shader compilation and stuttering by enabling applications to create and bind shaders directly without the need for a pipeline object. So that's freaking exciting. The fact that Nintendo was the initiating force on this too has me optimistic that we're going to see more open source development from them. What do you think about this?
Switch 2 confirmed 2023.
I think you need Switch 3.
Switch 3. No, they can't count to 3. No, I think this is really cool. One, to see Nintendo kind of like cooperating a little bit better. I think this is also an admission that these tools like Vulkan are just becoming more and more optimized than what one single entity can do when everyone is collaborating on this tool. So they might have said like, oh, Vulkan just it's just more optimized for our, ARM 64 Tegra chip. And it's taking too much time and resources to try to optimize whatever renderer we got in-house. Let's just start helping this so that we benefit better and can extend the life of the Switch or something.
Yeah.
So it's still surreal to see Nintendo's name on this, of like they gave something away.
Yeah.
Like that's not anything I've ever seen, because it most often than not, it's Nintendo takes away something.
Yeah. Nintendo forks BSD and creates, whatever their operating system is for Switch.
Or they take like open source emulators and they cram it into Nintendo Online or something.
Yeah.
I'm not fully sure if that's happened, but Sony definitely did that with the PlayStation Classic.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they made their own emulator for the SNES Classic. I think that was an off-the-shelf like open source project.
Right, that could very well be, which is sad because back in the Wii days, when they put out Ocarina of Time for the Wii, like that was a very optimized, like specifically made emulator for that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were going through and making specific emulator versions for each game that was on the Wii store, the Wii Shop. I don't remember what it's called. But now, yeah, now they're doing a catch-all, which has not been the best solution for some of their games, as we've seen with, again, Ocarina of Time.
Mm-hmm.
But they've gone through and fixed some things, so they're getting there. But yeah,
Nintendo. Like you're saying, it's surreal to see Phoronix reporting on Nintendo's open source contributions.
right.
But yeah, if you guys want to check out the details about this, we'll have links in the description of the video or in the show notes on ViewSync.
Speaking of emulation and Nintendo, Dolphin Emulator is coming to Steam.
Heck yes, this is exciting stuff.
Yeah, those who may not be aware, Dolphin is the most popular GameCube and Wii emulator out there. It's been available online for a very long time on multiple platforms, but this is joining the likes of RetroArch on Steam. And with that, it comes with a lot of advantages that Steam have, like cloud saves is the biggest one that people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
Remote play together is a huge one. I know from my experience of trying to do online multiplayer with emulation is that just simplifies a lot of things, because I wanted to try and do Smash Ultimate multiplayer online with my PC with my brother, and going through that process was, all right, you gotta make a Parsec account, you gotta download it, you gotta configure it to this, you gotta do this, which Parsec is not available on Linux. So seeing Steam Remote Play Together of just a plug and play solution that is cross-platform, great, awesome. So that will make things like I could see you downloading the emulator and playing Mario Kart Double Dash on a Steam Deck and just remote playing together between two Steam Decks very easily.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Part of me feels like part of me is wondering like what kind of like conniption is Nintendo gonna have, like how are they gonna like throw a hissy fit? But at the same time, there's literally nothing Nintendo can do, because
it's not even like, oh, they've said Nintendo in the description, now we're going to take it down. The Dolphin team has gone to extreme lengths to never mention Nintendo or the GameCube or any of that. I think they say like, playing your favorite 7th gen console or something. If that is the correct generation. I always get that confused.
I think it is 7th gen.
Yeah.
Now I have to Google that. Sorry.
Yeah.
GameCube.
Is my video game history trivia correct? Let's find out.
Generation is 6th. Wii is 7th.
Ah, dang it.
Yeah.
It always trips me up.
You said 7th gen, and it is a 7th gen emulator, technically.
Technically. I get half a point.
Yeah. So what's your favorite game for Wii or GameCube?
That's not fair.
Come on.
That's not fair. Okay. I am huge. Again, I am a bitch for Legend of Zelda. So Wind Waker holds a very special place in my heart.
Same.
When I was gifted a GameCube for Christmas by my grandparents, I don't know who helped them buy this because they were on point. They gave me the black GameCube with 2 controllers for me and my brother, and we got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, Wave Race. What was the subtitle of that? Wave Race
64. Oh no, Wave Race Blue Streak or something like that.
Blue Storm or something.
Blue Storm, yeah.
And then Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader.
Oh my God.
Those 3 games. That's such a good lineup right there.
Yeah.
So again, Rogue Leader, spent so many hours in that. One of my favorites that not a ton of people know, because it's one of the rarest standard releases out there, and I actually have it, is Gotcha Force. It's truthfully not like the best game in the world, but it would do amazing if it was brought to Switch nowadays, because it just has mechanics that could be easily exploitable, honestly. Think of a Pokemon combined with let's see, what do I want to say? I don't know if Power Stone's right. But a fighting game, and you play as these like robot alien toy things. So you're collecting these robots as your fighters. It's pretty simplistic combat. The main guy you get, G Red, will not shut the fuck up at any point. So he's one of the best fighters in the game, but yet he just won't shut the fuck up. But there's many cool. You've got transforming robots, you got combining robots, you got superhero robots. So I spent a ton of time in that, and then for some reason it then shot up in value to like $700 because it was one of the initiative of Capcom to bring new IPs to the West or something. So it was that along with some other stuff, but I'm not sure. So yeah, those are the ones I'm going to mention.
Yeah, I'm a big Melee fan.
How did I not even mention that? That's sad. Yeah.
I like F-Zero for GameCube. I'm blanking on the names. Wind Waker, obviously. Wind Waker is
right.
I think it might be my favorite Zelda ever. But I really like Breath of the Wild too. But
right. I think Breath of the Wild might edge it out slightly because of the annoying like fetch quests in Wind Waker.
Yeah. But like, yeah, I don't know. There's so many good games. I have the the purple GameCube with
nice.
a purple Game Boy attachment, which you can't get in the US. Like I had to import it from Japan to get that, but it's region free, and so I wasn't too worried about that. And then also, you gotta get Swiss on there and load like the Game Boy Player app. So it's pretty cool.
There's the hacking scene has been really great so far because of like the Raspberry Pico and whatnot.
Yeah.
Making things a lot easier. So I have not personally done it myself. That's one of the consoles I have not touched. It's been living. I can't turn all the way to show you, but it's been living on my shelf next to my Wii for quite a while.
Yeah, I think I saw it when the other day before we started the podcast last week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Speaking of, I don't know how to segue into this honestly, but the dating sim that does your taxes, Tax Haven 3000, has been removed from Steam. So I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
For anyone that needed to do taxes and needed an anime flavor.
You're gonna have to fill me in. What are why is it being removed from Steam?
Oh, God, let's see. It's hang on. There's the article. I clicked on the article that said the collector's edition has already sold out.
Wow.
I've never heard of this prior. This is just. It seems that they just listed as being removed. I'm not sure. I think there was some concerns of because it's doing your taxes. There's some sensitive data there, and Steam probably doesn't want the game collecting that data, so they most likely removed it. It's still available through itch.io.
Yeah,
itch.io. But like, here you go. More proof that literally anything can be a dating game.
Yeah, the thing that like has me very concerned is when you like this what do you call it here? Oh crap. The thumbnail for the YouTube trailer. Do you see the logo of the company that made the game?
I do not. Hang on. I got to get the I got to turn my JavaScript. Oh, Jesus. So many things are happening. Are we looking at the MS? I don't know how you say
it. It's MSCHF.
Oh, it's just a bunch of exclamation points with a red dot.
Yeah, but it's deliberately trying to look like Intuit TurboTax's logo. That's what it's trying to do.
It does.
that feels...
If TurboTax wasn't bad enough.
Dude, that feels so scammy to me. Like, I'm sorry. That feels super sketch.
I know nothing about this game. It's just the headline was hilarious to me. Rock paper shotguns. Who are you? I have no idea how to say that. Kanan Cern, Kaan. I'm sorry, my guy. He briefly jumped into Tax Haven 3000 using a fake social security number and phone number. It was surprisingly cute. That's what he said. So if you want to play the game with completely fake credentials, I guess that works.
Yeah.
Probably not recommending you use this for your taxes, but you could.
Yeah. Dude, and also the name of the game is Tax Heaven. In the show notes,
Heaven, not Haven.
Yeah, you wrote Haven in the show notes, so I was thinking like even more sketch, like Tax Haven, like
right,
Bermuda or not Panama or whatever, Tax Haven. That's hilarious.
Oh, man. There's been too much like Philip DeFranco covering Credit Suisse about stuff, so like it must have been front of brain.
Yep, that's awesome.
Wacky stuff.
Speaking of games that performance is kind of sketch.
Oh geez, here we go. Yeah. So this was probably the biggest news about Steam and the Steam Deck was The Last of Us Part 1. It started with me seeing, because I do a lot of research before, like early in the morning, to try and find articles to write about, and some articles I was seeing really early on were The Last of Us might be verified for deck, and I thought, well, that's kind of weird to report this if you don't have a solid like confirmation. So I kind of skipped over it. But their reasoning, and I can't necessarily fault them. One, Valve on their website for the Steam Deck show a screenshot of The Last of Us on the deck, amongst a bunch of other games that are verified or playable. So if a consumer is looking at that, they can say, oh, this probably runs well in deck. I can understand that.
Yeah.
To another credit of theirs, back in December, co-president of Naughty Dog, Neil Druckmann, posted a tweet saying, don't worry, coming to deck, and just posted a screenshot. So that, again, could lead someone to think that this is going to be verified. What I found odd was that there was no verification before the release, like we've seen with a number of Sony games.
Yeah.
And to their credit, they've done a really good job of getting this verification process and publishing it out there quite quickly before the game comes out. And we've seen the Spider-Man games run pretty great. God of War was pretty decent. The Horizon Zero Dawn port initially came out somewhat problematic. Digital Foundry labeled it as a lacking PC port. Since then, it's received some updates. I have not personally tested on the Steam Deck. And we also had Returnal come out, which was not Steam Deck verified. That actually came out with an unsupported rating. And that, is it an optimization issue, or is it just because it was developed for the PS5, which has like 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM and such? Because the port, as it turns out, was a good PC port. It has a lot of settings in there, but at a certain point, the dials can be turned back only so far. So with this, it just seems like generally a bad PC port. Like there was a delay at the start of the month. They delayed it by about 25 days or so to ensure a quality release. Well, wasn't quite insured enough. Wasn't quite there, boys. So you've got numerous graphical issues, a lot of crashing. I think someone had listed in 2.5 hours, there were 14 crashes. One of the worst things is that it compiles shaders for 2 hours before you start the game.
So that you can't get a refund.
You happen to not be able to get a refund if you test the game after that point.
Yeah.
I think you could interrupt it to try the game, though.
To be fair, it only took 45 minutes to compile the game for me, or to compile the shaders. But
it's all dependent.
I was sitting here, I was like writing up something about the game. I think I was writing the script for Friday's video, and I had my Steam Deck sitting here plugged in, compiling shaders, and I'm like ticking clock here because I'm not gonna be able to get a refund if this doesn't, if I play this for 2 hours, play it, have it running for 2 hours. But I actually did get a refund. I played the game. I couldn't get past the opening trailer. I couldn't get past the opening trailer. When it cuts to what his daughter in her room, she's laying on her bed. Every time she would get up from the bed, it would hard crash. Like the whole screen would go black. You could still hear like some glitchy audio, and the Steam button, the quick access menu wouldn't work, and it was so frustrating. Because I did actually want to try it, and I tried it several times, and it crashed every time at the same spot. So,
right, I'm kind of glad I picked up Sifu instead of this. I had, I actually have The Last of Us remastered sitting on my shelf, waiting for me to play for my PS4. Because again, this game came out for 3 different console generations. And so far, if you want to play the game on deck, it seems like the best way is to grab a PS4 or PS5 and then stream it using Chiaki for deck. Especially the PS4 version is like, what, $10, $14 to pick up if you don't want to pay the full price of the new remaster.
Yeah.
So it's still in my backlog. I'm going to play the PS4 version. I'll skip the Steam edition until at some point, or maybe I won't even buy it because I will have played the game at that point.
Yeah.
So
I literally just bought it to see if it was as bad as everybody was saying it was.
That morbid curiosity.
Yeah. And by howdy, I was not impressed. I couldn't even get to a place to play the game. So
yeah, it's sad to see. And I had initially in my article had wrote, because I was seeing some people blame Iron Galaxy for this. Iron Galaxy is the studio that had ported Batman Arkham Knight to PC, and that launch was infamously bad. So bad that Steam removed it from sale. It's since been put back. Iron Galaxy has also worked as I suspect a supporting role in Metroid Remastered and one other that wasn't like badly received. What was it? It's in my show notes here somewhere, I would think. There's another one that they did that wasn't poorly received, just to give them. Oh, it's on the article. Just to not point the finger directly at them, because I don't know if they were a supportive role to this or taking more on. A lot of questions were asked. Well, why wasn't Nixies responsible for this port? Because it was so high profile. Good chance they're working on something else. If they're trying to put as many PC ports out there, they're probably getting different devs to start porting as much as they can.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, I do appreciate that PlayStation is bringing their exclusives to PC. But on the other hand, they've been such a mixed bag. I think the only one that I've actually been impressed with technically was Spider-Man Remastered. Because, I had trouble... dude, I was on the plane to California last summer, and I was playing... God of War, and I think I was actually playing the game, I got into the game and whatever, but it crashed multiple times, the whole deck, not just the game. And it's the same thing with this. It's crashing the entire deck. Horizon Zero Dawn, I remember Linus was talking about playing it for hours and hours, and then you'd get to a certain point and maybe the same save game was causing memory leaks or what, but the whole thing would crash or get to a crawl. So it's nice to see their support, but it's we need higher quality, and it's criminal to me that we just let these companies get away with publishing terrible ports of their games.
It reads to me that something has gone wrong behind the scenes. There was that delay. The delay was not long enough, obviously, in my opinion. who knows? I think again, there's the PS5 has that game was specifically targeted at PS5, probably for the development. So, when you've got that hyper focused hardware and then you've got to shift it to something very different, one, you're losing those precompiled shaders, which again, because hardware is so different amongst all of computers, you can't deliver those precompiled shaders unless you have something to shoot for, aka the Steam Deck, which is why Elden Ring was working so good. You've got to compile these shaders, hence why that's happening there. The PS5 has 16 gigabytes of graphic memory, whereas the Steam Deck, I think, out of the box, what is it? Out of the box, it shares 4 gigabytes, 8 gigabytes. Because I know it uses the 16 gigabytes of RAM and shares it with the graphics. I just forget what that metric was.
Well, it's fully configurable. Like the system resources are, I think you can share up to 8 gigabytes with the
right. And I've done that with my Steam Deck. I've gone into the BIOS and changed it, but definitely out of the box, it's a bit lower than that.
Yeah. But it's, I don't know. It's interesting. I wish that Sony could get their act together with these ports, but
I'm wondering again, when Returnal came out, we saw a bunch of conversation of like, oh, Steam Deck just isn't there. It's not going to be able to keep up. It's going to be outdated and whatnot. And easy to scoff at, honestly, of it can't keep up, because I think it's a very powerful and efficient handheld that can play a very large amount of games.
Yeah.
I think there is something to be said as we get further in the console generation, where developers are targeting or trying to take a more advantage of what hardware there is in the consoles and whether or not that's going to be an issue. We saw Baldur's Gate 3 announced solely for PlayStation 5, well, Sony, PS5, and PC, obviously. And so people speculated, oh, it must be some kind of Sony exclusive. They did a deal. No, the devs came out and said, hey, look, we didn't get the Xbox Series S version the way we wanted, and so we just couldn't release it. And that seems like I think it is, you have to have a version that works on the Series S as mandated by Microsoft. I think that is a mandate. Because if it was up to devs, then they could just release only an Xbox Series X version. But I know that hasn't happened since the launch of the consoles. And the Series S is definitely more in line with the Steam Deck. So anything that's going to run on that, I have a strong feeling that it'll run pretty well on Steam Deck if it's optimized enough.
Yeah.
So, let's see how far we get into this console generation and see what it looks like for the Steam Deck.
The thing is, if Valve plays their cards right and they can get people on board, then the Steam Deck is a singular piece of hardware, just like the consoles. And so if they have it in their budget to like make a PC port, it really isn't that much of a stretch for them to be like, let's also make sure we test it on the Steam Deck. Because the Steam Deck, it only costs $400 to get a dev kit. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a freaking Xbox or a PlayStation where you need to have bespoke hardware to do dev testing.
Do they have dev kits of the Steam Deck, or is it just a Steam Deck?
No, the way you get a dev kit is you buy a $400 machine and you tap the dev options in the menu. It's just like an Android phone. They don't have dev kits of Android phones because every Android phone is a dev kit. And it's
just that open.
Yes. And that's the Steam Deck. You go into the settings, you enable the dev settings, dev mode, and then you go into the development thing and you can turn on or off any of the dev tools that you need. And it's like, there's literally nothing that would differentiate a Steam Deck dev kit from a normal retail unit because they're the same thing. So, it's not like it's adding to their budget significantly, especially because all they have to do is buy a 64 gig model and test it. And then if they come up with like some issues between the two, usually if they tackle problems with Proton, they are also fixing issues that are hidden in the Windows client. It's that easy. It's not like they have to rebuild the game from, for Linux or anything like that. But if they're using like Godot or Unity or Unreal, there are ways that they can build native ports. Honestly, at this point, though, I think it makes more sense to just support Proton. You fix something for Proton, you're fixing a hidden problem on Windows, and you'll save money down the line. And it doesn't require much else for you to support the Steam Deck that way. But
you're building one version at that point, so it makes financial sense, time wise, support wise. And
so, like, down the line a little bit too, where we get to a point where it's like the hardware for the Steam Deck is aging. If Valve has done their job right, there'll be enough of an install base for the Steam Deck, and developers will be able to like make sure that the minimum settings of a game work on the Steam Deck. And that will be fine. That will be, because that's basically what late console games did, is like they would target the minimum hardware, and then when they released it for PC, the minimum settings were like just slightly above what was available on console for like the 360 or whatever. So
right. And stepping away from like the technical side of it and more the consumer side, I think we're going to see more of a big push on indies, because again, like the graphics, the graphical leap has been impressive, like fidelity wise, but again, I think it's diminishing returns. It's costing an exceedingly expensive amount of money to develop these photorealistic games that take an extreme amount of power to run, unless you have like the specific console it's designed for. And I think, and those games come out at like $70 a pop or so, thanks Sony. And we've now seeing like this PlayStation VR 2 apparently has sold horribly, despite it being really good. And some speculate that's partly because of like where we stand economically right now. It's extremely expensive. The only way to mitigate that quote unquote disaster is a price reduction. So if you keep having these games come out that require $70 as a starting price, and then two, you have to have pretty great hardware to play, that's going to cost you nearly an arm and a leg, at least on the PC side. I think we're going to have more people just lean closer to indies, because indies aren't nickel and diming. They are hitting a much lower threshold. They now have the Steam Deck. What is it? Oh God, what's the name of that? The Pale Beyond or something. There was one dev that talked about how they saw like 10% of all their game sales on the Steam Deck, which is kind of mind blowing. I'd have to find it. I feel really bad for not remembering the exact title of it.
It's the Pale Beyond.
Pale Beyond. All right, there we go. I don't feel bad anymore. Haha. I think it's just there is more incentive to play, because again, like Sifu runs at 60 FPS at like high settings on the Steam Deck, and taking the stutter and the crashes out of the equation, runs great and looks fantastic. Like it's a great, because it's the art style. It's more simplistic graphics, but the art style looks great. And I think indies, when if they lean more into art direction and start instead of fidelity, I think you're gonna have far more impressive looking games come out on that end that run on so many different systems. Example, Wind Waker from the GameCube still looks great, still looks good. That aged really well, opposed to like Twilight Princess.
Yeah. Yep. This is fascinating. Pale Beyond, I can actually give you a very interesting number from our game, the Pale Beyond. It really shocked me. 10% of the Pale Beyond sales are actually Steam Deck sales. That's fascinating. That is fascinating.
Which I think he meant that specifically people were going on the Steam Deck and buying it from there, not just like the desktop client or anything.
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously, if it was that, then I guess it would be 100% of sales with Steam Deck, which wouldn't be right. But that's a huge number. It's a big number for a console that's only a year old.
Yeah. I mean, and for a platform like Steam that has like 400 million monthly active users or something, like 10% of that's 40 million. But it's no. What is it? What is their active monthly users? Wait, that can't be right.
While you're looking it up, I will say again, this whole Last of Us situation speaks to, again, the verification system isn't flawless. One, who's to blame for this situation? The devs that put it out, Sony, Steam for having that as put there as an ad. Like, clearly this was intended to be Steam Deck verified sometime soon or at launch, but they just didn't get there.
Right now, the peak active monthly active users right now on Steam is 32,857,000. So, and that's they just set that record. Like, that's what it's set right now. So
I feel like they keep setting records every single every few weeks.
But let's say that 10, like, I mean, they didn't sell 32 million, but like,
right.
I bet you they sold a pretty good number of Steam copies of the game to Steam Deck users. Oh yeah. 10% is nothing to shake a stick at.
That's at least 3 copies of the game.
Exactly.
I'm bad at math.
Yeah. But you know what though? Like, there is this shift in the industry towards indie games, because the AAA like model just is not sustainable. And speaking of unsustainable model, E3 has been officially canceled.
GG no Reeb.
He's dead, Jim.
That's literally what I put in the show notes or the doc. He's dead, Jim.
He's dead, Jim. Man.
Yeah, no, this is kind of, the writing was on the wall. We all saw this coming, but it's kind of crazy to see that it official now. Like, officially, the coroner's report came in, no more. And this wasn't like, we can't like pin this necessarily on like bad management, because the team responsible for bringing this year was Ripjaw, which is that they're the company behind New York Comic-Con, the PAX. I don't know if it's all the PAXs or just a specific PAX, but these conventions, which PAX East just happened and went great, I assume. Like, it's not that they aren't capable of running this. It's just we saw people just pull out. We had Sony's pulled out years and years ago. Nintendo said they weren't going to have a presence. That might be due to, Tears of the Kingdom is going to come out, and then it's going to be all quiet, maybe.
Yeah.
Let that sit and simmer. Ubisoft, the terrible company it is, it pulled out as well.
Did even Microsoft pull out?
So Microsoft has for a while, Microsoft weren't at E3 technically, but they were kind of in association with E3. They were have their conference in the building next door. So they just kind of were unofficially lumped into that as well. And they teamed up in some way. But this year they officially hey, we're not officially part of E3. We're not doing that. We're still doing our own thing. So you have no console manufacturers there. You've got apparently the dev support was there at the beginning of the year, but then they started pulling out. I think again, they see we live in a post-pandemic quote unquote world of everything was virtual at a time. So we had to go through this all virtual E3 at least once.
Yeah.
So, and we've seen Nintendo Direct, State of Play, Xbox Developer Direct. That's the one they're going for. We've seen it all work and pan out. And financially, it makes far more sense if it's going to get you, get you your game out there and covered. As long as you're more or less in that E3 window, it seems to work, and you're saving a whole bunch of money. You're not creating a giant booth. You're not sending people out on planes to go there. You're not creating a playable. I mean, you might create a playable demo to put out on Steam and stuff, but there's a lot of cost in that, and renting the space. Like, it costs a lot of money to be at E3 just as a dev and such. So it's E3 was huge for me growing up. Like, I remember watching it on G4.
Yep.
Again, rip in peace. Like, it was the big thing of, holy shit, look at these announcements. Sony just fucking dogged Xbox with, like, here's how you share a game. Like, it was like just a cultural thing we could all share together as gamers, of like being hyped and saying, hey, video games are fucking great. They're cool. Look at this. And we could just ignore all of the negative stuff for a little bit, and then eventually be reminded, oh, Battlefront 2 came out with star cards, which was goddamn terrible. But it is kind of sad to see that this is not really a thing at this point. Yeah. Will it come back? That's a big question. Some people are saying it's not dead forever. It'll come back next year. They're gonna redo this. Other people are saying it's dead for good. It's never coming back. I don't know where this falls. Again, at least cost wise, it makes more sense just to do all these like direct to consumer videos, but then you're going to be lost in the shuffle for some of the news cycle.
Yeah, my money's on it not coming back ever. At least not next year for sure. Especially with State of Play and Direct and whatever else. It's like
Summer's Game Fest, Jeff Keighley's E3 replacement.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff Keighley is actually a passionate gamer and he gives a shit. So I suspect like that's where the future of E3 lies for sure.
Right. And speaking of passionate, he had a very messy breakup with E3 quite a while ago. So I think it was either a year before or the year of the first Summer Games Fest, he put out a long enough tweet of just railing against E3. So ever since E3 was opened up to the public, I think it's gone in a direction I haven't been fond of. I don't remember what year that was. That might have been like 2016 or something, or 2017. I don't know. But I mean, it started as just like all these game companies coming to show the market, hey, this is what we got. You should buy our things. Hey, stockholders and people, like, this is what we got. But it's still like great for certain moments of, the president of Sony coming out on stage and just saying $299 and walking away, and the entire crowd cheering because of, I think, the Dreamcast, or no, what was it? It was one console that cost way too much money.
Was it the GameCube? No, what? No.
It might have been. I think it was. Well, if the Dreamcast came out before the PS2, I think this was for the PS1 where they did it. So it would have been the Sega Saturn?
I thought the PlayStation came out after the Dreamcast.
No, I think the Dreamcast came out closer to 2000, right?
Yeah, but
because
Wait. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
This is we're gonna do a little research here, folks. We're gonna price heard around the world. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, it was the Saturn. But the Saturn was already a mess and a disaster all on its own.
This was E3 1995. So this would have been the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, so $299. Literally he comes out and says $299 and he walks away.
Yeah.
And it's titled The Price Heard Around the World. So I believe that would make it the Saturn at that point.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Because I don't know what the price of the N64 was, but I'm pretty sure that was competitive for the PlayStation 1. Yeah, no, it's E3 has certainly had its really memorable moments and a lot that we could share together, just as gamers and as a culture, that I will miss. I will miss that because it's going to be like, hey, did you hear this one trailer came out? No, I did not. All right, cool. And
Yeah,
you're just not going to be. I think the closest we've gotten is like the last time I felt that was when Nintendo announced Sora for Kingdom Hearts Ultimate. I think that was like the last oh shit moment I had. And that was a while ago.
Yeah. I was really hoping that like Valve was gonna reveal a game at the Game Awards, and it didn't happen, and I was so disappointed.
Yeah. Well, they've got what, Prime Neon? Is that what they were calling it? They've got something in the works.
Oh, Neon Prime, yeah.
Neon Prime. There we go. So like, let's hope end of the year we hear something, or maybe next year, because we know we've got that install base for Steam Deck.
Yeah. I just want to know what the heck Neon Prime is, you know? Ugh.
Hi, I'm Gaben, and here at Valve, we're excited to introduce our Web3 initiative, Neon Prime.
Yeah,
That's when it all went to shit.
That was kind of a pretty good Gabe Newell. Like
was it? Oh, okay.
It invoked like,
I'm here to tell jokes and do impressions, apparently.
Well, it invoked like the feeling of like listening to like the developer commentary in like Portal 2 or whatever.
I have never listened to the developer commentary. I just guessed that one. So hey, I'll just I'll go through and
goes. He's like, "Hi, this is Gabe Newell, founder of Valve, and blah blah blah," and he'll just be like, "And if you have any questions, email me at gaben@valve.com."
And that's the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah, it's like, wow. Yeah, so you had a pretty spot on nice impression of him.
Oh man.
Well,
my
oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was just gonna say one last thing is like my question is, when do we get a Game Jam exclusively made and played on Steam Deck? Like, I want to see that happen.
Made and played on Steam Deck.
That like specifically cool. Made,
yeah,
and played on Steam Deck.
That would be awesome.
I think that'd be really, really interesting.
I mean, you can get Godot on there.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, you can.
Pretty straightforward.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Get in that Godot.
Do we have anything else we want to talk about?
Man, that pretty much sums up everything we've got. I know we've got a stacked like news week this week. And if we hit an hour 30, someone's going to complain about it in the comments.
2.5 hours. What the heck is this? It's called a podcast, buddy. Did you see that comment?
Podcast, my guy. Oh God. The comments are just the waste of times.
I take comments with as much levity as humanly possible, because they're just interesting. But if you like this video or you didn't, hit us up in the comments, because we actually do like reading comments when they're not like just the most inane stuff.
And even if they are inane, sometimes I'll reply as a joke.
Yeah. If you have like something that you want to tell us about any of the topics we touched on today, leave them in the comments. You can ask us questions. We'd love to have like Q&A from the audience, so leave us a question below. Yeah, Jackson, where can people find you on the web?
Yeah, so I write for ViewSync, so you'll find me on there. I've got numerous articles. I realized last time that audio listeners would not be able to tell where they can find me on Mastodon, so I'm going to spell it out. It's at Jax7, JAXSEVEN, like the number, at tech.lgbt. Nice. That's where you're going to find me. That's my only social. Also in the YouTube comments every once in a while, where I'm going to shit post in there. But yeah, that's essentially where I'm at. Gardiner, where can they find you?
if you want to find me online and you're listening to this right now or watching this, you've already found me. But you can also head over to subscribe2.me. It's like a link tree, but I'm self-hosting it, so you can find the my Twitter and all that stuff over there. Jackson, I should give you like access to that, and then you can have your own self-hosted link tree.
It's gonna be like one link to my Mastodon. That's it, or my ViewSync author page. Like I really got nothing going on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like and subscribe if you want to see me do a Twitch stream.
Yeah, well, we should have you on like on a live stream at some point. But you live so far away. I don't know.
I do.
I don't know. But anyway,
thousands and thousands of miles.
Yeah, it's not thousands. You're maybe.
I just want to make it as a joke. I want to make it a running joke where I live like on the moon or something.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I don't want to live on the moon. You know that Sesame Street?
No.
You don't know that from Sesame Street? Oh, it's so good. Okay. I love Sesame Street. I'm not gonna lie. I love it. Cool. Yeah. So check out. I was gonna say, you guys could like head over to my Twitter and like vote in a poll, but I don't want to encourage anyone to subscribe to Twitter Blue because that's
you might not be able to vote in polls anymore.
Yeah, we'll figure out something cool that we can do with you guys. Do you have like a question that you want to leave with the audience and see what they come up with for an answer?
Hey audience, how you doing? Do you think that we're gonna see one, is Summer Game Fest going to replace E3? And then two, are we going to see a lot more devs start losing support for like Series S or the lower end space? Or are we going to see them double down on lower end hardware and Steam Deck? What do you think?
Interesting question. I'm going to ask the audience a second question, and it's going to be the same question I posed to you earlier. What is your favorite GameCube game? And what's your favorite Wii game? So there's 3 questions you guys can answer now.
If anyone says Gotcha Force, you're fucking lying.
All right. I think that's going to do it for this episode. What do you think?
Yeah. I think that's about it. We've hit an hour 21. So you know what? Let's call it there.
Call it there. So if you guys haven't already, head over to ViewSync, become a premium member, get the audio podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And we will see you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.